So under this Protista kingdom, there are a lot of things, general characteristics that we're going to discuss. But since the Protista kingdom is a very large kingdom, I'm just going to quickly go through. I will be brief and I'll be a bit quick, but as I hope I provide you with the latest information. So under the Protista kingdom, it is categorized in actually two taxons, and those taxons are protozoans. Protozoans are animal-like, single-celled organisms, and also algae. Algae are plant-like single-celled or multicellular organisms. So let us discuss the protists, which are the protozoans. The protists are something that resembles to animals, and they are known as protozoans. They actually found in moist and water environment. Their characteristics are actually similar to animals, but their ability to move is not as animals are, even though they are heterotrophs. They are unicellular organisms, but some animals actually are multicellular organisms. So that is a bit difference between protozoans and animal species. But if we are discussing protozoans, we need to know that it is classified in actually four categories. And the first one is the sarcodians, and they move using what we call the pseudopod. We also have what we call the zooflagellates, which move using the flagella, which is the long tail. We also have what we call the ciliophorans, which move using cilia. And lastly, we have which we call the sporozoans. These form spores in terms of movement and reproduction. So now let us discuss the first one. This phylum is known as a Zomastigophora, and it is the one which we discussed to say it moves using the flagella. The other word to refer to this is a zooflagellata. So these move using the flagella, and they are parasitic, so which means they actually depend on other organisms for food. They actually possess a lot of flagella, which is flagellates, and are seen in intestines of human beings. They do not possess any chloroplasts. They are very harmful. They actually reproduce using or by binary fission. So an example of this species is seen in the diagram. That is the flagella, and they are seen mostly in humans' intestines. So along the small intestine, the large intestine, this is where you're going to find such a species. We also have another phylum, which is a phylum Ciliophora, which is also known as ciliates. So these move using ciliates. If we know what cilia are hairy substances, but they move using ciliates. Their movement of cilia is pedal-like. By pedal, if let me give an illustration of a boat. A boat is going to have two pedals, and the pedals will be moving in a similar direction. That is how a cilia works. So that is how its movement is. So they are mostly heterotrophs, and they reproduce by binary fission as well. They have macronucleus. An example is a paramecium organism. It is a ciliate protozoan found in fresh water and ponds. It is mostly known as a sleeper animal. That is an example of a paramecium organism. It is a single-celled, as we have explained. So let us proceed. We also have plant-like protists, which are algae. So we have different types of algae, and this algae is actually they actually their form of nutrition is autotrophic, which means they make their own type of food by the process of photosynthesis. It is believed that mostly they most they are the most large supply of oxygen to the earth, and these protists are the major food source of primary producers of water organisms. So another phylum is a chlorophyta. The chlorophyta is also known as a green algae. It is also unicellular but can also be multicellular for large algae. But their form of multicellular organisms, they will just the one algae will stick together with another algae, just piling up together. That is how multicellular algae is. But they are mostly freshwater organisms, and their body is like sheet-like thallus. They have cell walls. And they are made up of cellulose and pectin. Food reserve is in form of starch, and they, 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 an example is a Spirogyra. That is an example of such a species. So these are what we call the green algae as far as you can observe on the screen. So let us proceed. So the chlorophyta reproduce sexually and asexually depending with the mode, but it is usually sexual reproduction. But asexual reproduction can occur in form of binary fission, fragmentation, or production of zoospores, which I'm later going to explain later on. So this is an example of a sexual reproduction. So under sexual reproduction, you're going to find it. Under sexual reproduction, this is what we're going to see. So this is an organism which is going to form gametes. So a male sex cell and a female sex cell, and they are going to meet, forming a zygote. And this zygote is going to divide using the process of mitosis, forming 4 other organisms which later grow into one possessing 2 flagella. But for the asexual, it is going to start dividing by the process of mitosis, which will later grow, and division will occur by binary fission, fragmentation, or zoospores, depending on the method, which will later grow into a full-grown algae. We also have another phylum, which is the phylum Rhodophyta, which is red algae. These are mostly large multicellular and are used for food formation and formation of alga. Red alga is more inorganic nitrogen and form red phycobilin pigments. Red algae reproduce both sexually and asexually, but it usually uses this asexual form of reproduction, which is discharging of spores, which is spore formation and fragmentation. It is autotrophic and possesses a cell wall. This is an example of red algae. We also have another different phylum, which is Phaeophyta, which is known as brown algae. Brown algae are multicellular, mostly in shallow water seas, and kept. And these large brown algae are called kelps. Kelps may grow densely in the seas, form kelp forests, and they form important food sources of fish and some invertebrates. The brown algae growing on rocks are known as rockweed. For example, rockweed is sargassum. They possess a cell wall. They are autotrophic, which means self-providing food, and they're produced by sexual mode of reproduction or asexually. Both are motile, so which means they have motile zoospores and their gametes have two equal flagella. So this is an example of a representation of a brown algae. We also have another different phylum, which is the phylum Sarcodina or Rhizopoda. So this Rhizopoda, it has extending lobes of the cytoplasm, and this extending lobe of the cytoplasm is known as pseudopodia, and the pseudopoda is used in movement and feeding. During the formation of the pseudopoda, the cytoplasm streams into the lobe, causing the lobe to ooze and grow. So as it grows, it causes the organism to move. So an example of this is the amoeba or the foraminferans. So this is an example of the amoeba. So it has what we call the pseudopod, and this pseudopod is the one that causes movement, and as it moves it is able to reproduce and also to feed. So it reproduces asexually and have no cell wall. It is heterotrophic. Another one which we have to discuss is the phylum Eglenophyta. The defining characteristic of this phylum is that it moves by a real flagella, live in aquatic habitat but do not have a cell wall. So it is similar to an animal cell, yes, correct, but it is not an animal cell, but have a defined shape. Some might be heterotrophic, while others have a chlorophyll A or chlorophyll B and can produce energy by photosynthesis, making these organisms autotrophic. An example is Eglenoglacilis. They reproduce asexually. An example is that, as you can see on the screen. We also have another one, the phylum Sporozoa, which is also known as Apicomplexa. All members of this phylum are non-motile, but they are parasitic. They form spores and hence the name Sporozoa. They lack locomotor structure, so which means they do not possess a flagella for movement, but they are carried by fluids in their organisms, in their host organisms. Many sporozoans causes serious diseases in humans, like for example the Plasmodium, which causes malaria in human beings. And these actually reproduce sexually or asexually. In the absence of photosynthesis, photosynthetic pigments, they are heterotrophic. We also have another. This might be the last phylum that we're going to discuss. This is fungus-like protists, and they are filamentous. They reproduce via sexual or asexual method, and it has a typical humongous sexual reproduction. Humangas produce spores that's used in sexual reproduction. They have cell walls, heterotrophic, and that will be the end of our lesson. Sorry for cruising so fast, but I was moving with time. I only have 15 minutes with you, but thanks for watching, guys. I really love you. Please subscribe to this lesson, subscribe to this YouTube channel. Thank you, guys. See you next time.